April Fools, guys. I hope a lot of you guys saw my video from yesterday, and as I'm sure many of you have guessed, it yes was a April Fools video. And today I'm gonna give you a behind the scenes how that video was made. So I've actually been planning this for like months now, and I knew I wanted to do an April Fools video this year. Usually don't do it, but I really wanted to make this a good one. So I had to think, okay, what do I want to try and fool people with? And I thought the easiest thing to fool people with is something that they really want, that they really hope for, because that's going to make people more inclined to believe it. So I thought, what is the two things, or the things that Elite Dangerous players want the most? Well, it's more ships and ship interiors, isn't it? So I knew I would have to play on those two things. On the other hand, I also wanted to make sure that the video was like outrageous enough that people could perceivably guess that it was an April Fool's, and I also left a few clues in there for this eagle-eyed of you that some of you may have spotted. So I knew I wanted to do something with new ships inside Elite Dangerous, but I couldn't just make a talking head video. Nobody would believe that. I would need something to sell it. And that's when I came up with the idea of taking a ship from Star Citizen and put it into Elite Dangerous. I thought this is perfect. It is like outrageous enough that some of you will probably have guessed it was a April Fool's video. And yet it is believable enough, and hopefully some of you also got fooled by it. But now I want to show you how I put a ship from Star Citizen on the landing pad in Elite Dangerous. So I started this out in Elite Dangerous, found an empty landing pad inside a station, and I just recorded a orbit around that landing pad as if the ship were there. I was very careful not to have the lamps surrounding the landing pads overlap the landing pad itself, as I didn't want to have to sit and fix all that in post-processing, as it would be a bit of a pain and it would be right in the middle. It would be kind of obvious if I screwed it up. I did leave in a small clue in this recording. If you're very careful, you can actually see my Astro Boss sitting in the background, and for those who've been watching my channel for a while will be very familiar with this ship. So some of you may have spotted that, and that would kind of be a hint that this video was recorded by me and not something that was coming out of Frontier. So I had my raw clip now. Now I just needed to put a ship from Star Citizen in it. So for that I used a tool called StarFab, allowing you to pull the models with full shaders and textures and everything out of Star Citizen. It has a Blender plugin, so I installed that. I needed to find a ship. One of my favorite ships is the 400i, so I thought, let's go and let's pick that. I extracted the 400i out of Star Citizen. Now I have all the components I needed for my April Fool's video. So I fired up Blender and I started a new VFX project. I imported my raw video from the landing pad and I began painstakingly setting up tracking markers and tracking them through the scene. I used all these tracking markers to resolve the camera motion, so let Blender basically calculate how the camera was moving in 3D space. So now that I had my fake camera motion, we could set up a ground plane. The ground plane would act as a shadow catcher, basically allowing shadows from whatever model I put in to be cast onto this plane. It would not be visible in the final render, but only the shadows cast upon the plane. Once the ground plane was set up and aligned with the landing pad in the video, I was ready to go and import the 400i model. Once again, after carefully positioning this on the ground plane so that it would look like it would sit on the landing pad, playing around with the size a bit, I ended up with something that looked pretty good. In order to sell the illusion a bit, I wanted to have some more realistic lighting. So I went into Polyhaven and I found this like 360 degree picture from inside a dance hall. It was pretty perfect. Like they had this like brown grayish floor, kind of the same color scheme as the landing pads in Elite. The roof was black with some quite intense point sources of light scattered around it in like a square-ish shape. And I thought, you know what, this is perfect. This is going to be good enough that it's going to look like it could be some of the lamps that are scattered around the landing pad. The lighting would be somewhat, I think, realistic. So I used that as what's called an HDRI, which is basically just environmental lighting. So I didn't really use the actual dance hall itself, just to emulate the lighting as if I were inside that dance hall. And you can actually see the light sitting in the roof of the dance hall being reflected in the windows of the 400i. That's not the lights inside Elite, that's in fact my lighting from my HDRI. Once all that was done, I just had a very long render ahead of me to render out this video. And after it was done, it was just recording the face cam, editing it all together, But anyway, I hope you guys are not too mad at me for pulling an April Fool's joke on you, and maybe I'll do something next year, I don't know, we'll see. But that's it for today, thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.